Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting the key issues, important events, and interesting people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. There are so many charities and organizations to support today, and it can be confusing on where to start and how to get involved. What's the difference between a donation and an endowment? How can I support my community? Today's guest has been at the forefront of community improvement and leadership for a long time. Let me introduce a familiar name and face to many, Barb Young, the president of the Porter County Community Foundation. Glad to have you here, Barb.
Thank you for having me.
So do you think that you really are a familiar face to a lot of people? Your picture's in the paper a lot.
So. I've been around the area for a long time, so over 40 years in Porter County.
And you've been doing the Community Foundation work for how long?
About 18 years. But I was a volunteer actually from the very beginning, and the foundation will celebrate its 20th anniversary next year.
How about that? So you were on the original board, right?
I was one of the volunteers that helped get the organization started, and fortunately we were able to affiliate with Legacy, the Lake County Community Foundation, to actually get us up and running. But it was about 1998 when we separated, and we've been on our own ever since.
So in the 20 years you've been affiliated with this, can you think of a time that is like, this is so fulfilling, this is so thrilling to be part of this? Can you think of a moment? There's probably many, but maybe pick one of them.
Well, I don't know if I can pick one moment, but I will say that it's an incredible opportunity because we get to work with the incredibly generous people in the community that provide resources, and then we get to work with the incredible nonprofits. I practiced law for a number of years. I've been in real estate development, but in all the things I've been able to do, I have such great respect for the people that lead our nonprofits because they make huge sacrifices, but they are providing just incredible service to the community. So to be able to help them, bring resources to them to do what they're doing, it's very rewarding every single day.
I know there's hundreds of stories about your donors, and could you maybe just share one of those stories that you like to share on a pretty regular basis because it's kind of an important story to be told?
Well, I think they're all important, but I guess there are a number of them. Very early on in the foundation, and I think you were certainly affiliated with the Community Foundation in its very beginning. I think you were instrumental in this particular one, but we had a veterinarian in the community who was ready to retire, sold his practice, and his realtor encouraged him to create a charitable fund. It was one of the very first endowment funds that were created at the Community Foundation. Happened to be during a time when Lily was matching, so the gift was compounded with a match. And unfortunately, he passed away not too long after he established this fund, but his wife survived. And every year when I would meet with her to talk about what grants she would like to make or what organizations, she was always in awe of the fact that the money that they started was growing. There was more money in her fund than when they created, and yet she was able to give away money every year. And that's really the power of endowment, is that we're not only building for the future because that money will be there into perpetuity, but we're doing good things today. And she was one of our greatest advocates because she kept telling people, it's amazing, this fund grows and I get to give away money, and I don't know how it works, but it's just amazing.
So did she tend to support more animal kind of things since he was a veterinarian, or does she just kind of give to different kinds of things?
She did support things like the Animal Shelter or Humane Society, but she also had a great passion for youth. So a lot of organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs and organizations like that. And she was able to, because it was kind of a donor-advised fund, she was able to make those decisions each and every year.
Now, you've been in a leadership role in our community for a long time, whether you're in the law practice, the real estate development, and now this, you kind of had like 3 careers, haven't you?
I have.
It seems like.
I have.
So in that whole time, what do you find is one of the most significant challenges we still face in our community here in this region?
Well, excuse me. Well, we have a lot of challenges. I think in Porter County, we're a little bit unique in terms of when you think of the 3-county region, in that we have a little more economic strength than our adjoining communities. And so sometimes people in Porter County think it's all good, and there aren't really issues. So I think bringing issues to the forefront, because we have the same problems, we have the same issues, They maybe just aren't at the people's forefront. So I think one of the jobs of the Community Foundation kind of reminds me of the parable of the rich man that didn't see the poor man right outside their door, is it's our job to not only identify what those issues are, but to share that information, educate people, and help them connect them to the things that they like to support.
So you've got a forum here. So if there was one thing you wanted to kind of grab people and say, you need to know and be aware of, what would be one of those things that you wish people understood was a problem?
Well, we actually focus on 3 issues at the Community Foundation, in addition to our just open grant process. And one of those is homelessness. And I think what people don't realize is that homelessness is not the stereotypical person pushing a grocery cart down the street. It could be your neighbor next door, somebody that lost their job, one health problem away from not being able to make the rent. The face of homelessness could be the person next door, it could be the person that you're working next to, it could be the person that's serving you at McDonald's. And I think the fact that there is homelessness and the fact that the average age of a homeless person is 9 years old, that's who's really suffering, are these kids that are in families, and trying to address that issue by providing them stability in the form of a place to call home.
Why do you think people don't realize that exists in our community?
Because it's not on the streets. It's not visual when you're driving it. You have to look. Sometimes homelessness is because they're sleeping on somebody's couch, or
and it doesn't make the newspaper either,
it doesn't
right?
make the
It's
newspaper.
not. It's not like, hey, well, let's have a report about somebody who's homeless.
Exactly.
It's going to be about crime and drugs and other problems that are more apparent in the community. So you think that's the one that's probably needs the most attention or
Well, no,
most
another
recognition?
a very difficult problem is substance abuse, and it's even more difficult because it has so many facets. Homelessness, at least, you know how to focus on at least providing shelter first, and then the support services to help them get to the point where they can be self-supporting. But in substance abuse, it's everything from prevention in the early grades to treatment for those that are already addicted, to law enforcement issues. And unfortunately, in Porter County, we have a much higher average of substance abuse in our school system school age kids than the rest of the state. And again, you don't think of that in Porter County. And it's not economic based. It crosses all economic levels. So that's one of the real difficult challenges because there's not a clear path to a solution. But we're working very hard to have community conversations and trying to come up with some strategies to address that. I think that probably is, if not it's certainly one of the top 3 issues facing our community.
I'm going to shift a little bit back to your role as a leader in the community. You and I have known each other for a long time, and I was always kind of in awe of the fact that you were I consider one of the most prominent women leaders in our region. I mean, how did you kind of find that? If you can go back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when you looked around the table, and in this area, it was mostly the boys at the table, not too many girls, right? I mean, but you were one of those women who I think was highly respected and really seemed to be able to make a difference. Why was that for you? Why was it different for you?
Well, I think I was very fortunate. I've had great mentors, and some of it is timing. When I came to Valparaiso, it was to go to law school, and my law school class was the first class that had 20% enrollment of women. The classes before, and there was a class of 100, so we had 20 women. The class before me, I think, had 5, and the class before that had 3. So we really benefited from some pioneers that were ahead of us. So by the time I graduated from law school, it wasn't such an anomaly to have women in law. There were bigger classes coming in every year. I joined a law firm that at the time was all men except for me, but they were very professional, and they mentored me. Del Hepner was the leader of our firm. He became a tremendous mentor for me. My father was a great mentor for me, and I guess I always was encouraged and felt that you could do whatever, and it didn't really matter. And again, I think there were some pioneers ahead of us that sort of took the the brunt of some of the challenges that women face, that by the time I came around, was a little more open. I also didn't.
You're making it sound like it was easy.
Well, I wasn't a trial lawyer. I will say I think it was a lot harder for women that pursue in the law that pursued trial work. There was a lot more challenges. I mean, there were rules that women couldn't go into the courthouse with the pantsuit on. You had to have a skirt suit, and there were a lot of women that. But again, there were some pioneers ahead of us that kind of fought those battles. Mine was more, since I was more in the business, transactional kind of law. It's all relationships. It's getting to know people, and I think the fact that I was with a quality firm. People that mentored me, so I was introduced to people, and they respected my mentors. So I think I got the benefit of that.
That's an interesting way to look at it. But I also witnessed, seeing you at the table oftentimes, and I would see the people listening would pay attention to what you would say oftentimes, but not always what the other women said. Why do you think you got that respect or that power over some of the other people? What were you doing differently?
I don't know that I know the answer to that. I think my personality is.
Do you think it was true though? Let me ask you that. I mean, I saw that. I mean, did you feel
I
that?
guess I don't. I don't know that I don't know that I thought about it. I do think my personality is such that I listen first. I don't think I'm necessarily the first one to speak out on an issue. I think I like to hear what others say, so maybe I can digest it a little more. Maybe I'm slower in terms of coming up with.
I don't think that's the case.
But I don't know that I noticed that. I feel like I've had great support systems, good mentors, and just been very fortunate. And I do think, again, I think there were people that led the way, that were a few years ahead of me. I think I really was on the cusp of changing attitudes, that I think I got the benefit of that.
So I know you've been doing this for now 18 years, and I think there's some succession planning going on, which is a good thing in a lot of organizations. So after this part of your career is drawing to some sort of conclusion, I mean, what's next for you?
Well, that I'm not sure. I have shared with my board that next year is my plan to retire at the end of next year from the Community Foundation. We are doing a lot of transition planning to make sure that that's a smooth. And I'm excited about the things the foundation's doing. I think the foundation's in a great place. We've got a great board, and I'm excited about all that. But I'm a great believer in you need new blood. You need to bring new people in. 20 years seems like a good time to say it's time to bring in some fresh leadership.
Well, I think that's all good, but I'm still trying to imagine the retirement word being worn by you.
I will say Northwest Indiana winters are a bit cold, so I do plan to maybe get away in the winter and be someplace a little warmer. My sister and I have a place in Michigan, and a good place to go in the summer. So I don't have any specific plans. I think it's more important that I sort of get out of the way once I leave the foundation and let the new leadership take over. But Porter County's been very, very good to me. It's provided me great career opportunities. I have great friends here. Porter County will always be a part of what I am and who I am and what I'm doing.
You recognize that need to kind of step us to the side and kind of have a different role. But there are a lot of leaders who can't do that or seem to really have great difficulty in doing that. Why is that? Or why do people have a hard time kind of getting out of the way?
I'm not sure, because I think actually, as you said, I had 3 careers, and I think that has really helped me, because while I loved each and every one of them, and I think one kind of led to the other, it made the other one possible. Every time you start something new, you're invigorated. It's fresh. You're learning. You can't just. It's not just doing what you've been doing. It's having to learn something all over again. And I think that was such a great experience for me, that more people should try that. I think because I think if you just do the same thing, not that you're doing exactly the same thing every day, but I don't know. I found it very, very personally invigorating to be able to do some different things.
So let me go back again. We're kind of jumping around a little, but why do people have such a difficult time understanding what a community foundation does, particularly the endowment side of this? Why do people struggle so much with that?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. One is, in some respects, a community foundation can be almost what you need it to be at that time. It can serve so many different roles that it's hard to say this is what a community foundation does, because we don't do just one thing. It may be that we're helping with a community project that needs resources right now, and we're helping to facilitate that. It might be that we're working on an endowment for the future. So there are all those different pieces. The other thing is, endowment is people look at the money they give. It could be a substantial sum, and then see, well, only a small portion of that is being used today. So the thing about endowment is you do have to be patient. There does sort of come a tipping point, like the donor I spoke about, after a few years when she saw how much the fund was growing, and that meant she had more money to give away. But it does take a little while. We are in a time where people expect immediate gratification, and I think that's one of the challenges. And the whole philanthropy is changing. The next generation is much more in tune to, they want to direct their philanthropy, they want to see the impact, they want to be involved. So I think the challenge for community foundations is to be able to meet people where they are as donors and be able to help them do what they want to do, and maybe also try and educate them that this is great now, but maybe down the road you want to think about doing something on a more permanent basis. But I think we're a society of looking for that immediate gratification, so endowment sometimes is a little harder concept to grasp.
You know, back when I was involved with this more, I used to like the simple concept of, you know, checking account and savings account.
Absolutely.
You know, the checking account is what you need now, the savings account is what you put aside for other purposes, and hopefully you can do something with the interest off of that. That always made sense to me, but in my editorial at the end of the show, I think I talk about that a little bit. Maybe that's because some people just don't even know what a savings account is.
Well, you know, at bank account, you know, how people bank is very different today too. But yeah, it is, and that's really the message we spend a lot of time talking to our nonprofit partners about, is how important it is for them to have the savings account. So we think a lot about our work as a community foundation is how do we make our nonprofit partners better at what they do. They're the ones providing the direct day-to-day services. So I always say, I love the commercial that says we don't make the product, we make the product better. You know, how can we make our nonprofit partners better, and how can we help them with their long-term financial security by encouraging endowments? Because those that, you know, we've only been around 20 years, but those that got endowment funds started in the early part of the community foundation are getting pretty sizable distributions every year, and that just takes the pressure off of their annual campaign. So it works. It's just, again,
just takes time.
It takes time. It takes time.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Oh gosh, well, one favorite part of the job for me is I have an absolutely fantastic staff. I get to work with some of the best people. Everybody is on the same page and excited. But I would say all across, it's the people. It's the great donors we work with. It's the great nonprofit staff members that we get to work with. It's people.
Do they make you laugh?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They can cut up a little bit.
I think we have fun at the Community Foundation. I think we have fun with our nonprofit partners.
You know, you guys are approaching $50 million in assets.
We are. We ended last year just under $45 million.
Okay. So you think you'll hit that 50 before you're out of there?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. We're actually working on a big project now. We're actually, for the first time, the foundation is going to have actually a permanent home. So at the end of September, we're purchasing a building. We're going to do some major renovations. And as a result of that, we will have a significant portion of that building dedicated as a nonprofit conference center. So we'll be able to invite all of our nonprofit partners to come in and have board meetings, retreats, educational programs. We really think it's going to enhance how our nonprofits work. So,
have you guys announced that yet?
It's not a secret, but
okay.
It's not. We haven't done a public announcement yet. We had to go through site review, so it's been in the paper.
Okay. So where's this going to be?
On Calumet Avenue, across from the old fairgrounds, is the building currently owned by Porter Hospital, where they have their rehab.
Sure, sure.
For people who've been around a long time, it's the old AMP building.
Right.
But it's about 12,000 square feet, and over half of that's going to be dedicated nonprofit community space.
That's going to be.
And so for the
that's
first time,
really
the
nice.
foundation will have a permanent home, which I think it's time we make that statement that we're here permanently, we're here to stay, we're here for good, we're here forever.
You think they're going to name the building after you or
No,
something?
I'm very much against that. This is all about Porter County, and it's the Porter County Community Foundation nonprofit conference.
I kind of like the idea of the young community building or something because it sounds
Forever young.
It sounds young. You know?
Well, it's a great name to have when you're in this business, I guess.
Yeah, because you will forever be young,
Forever
right?
be young.
Oh, you've probably used that line a few times, right?
Actually, my father was in the door business, and their tagline was "Forever Young."
Really? That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So if there's one thing that you wish people would do or change in terms of how they give, and we're down to about a minute here, so what would it be?
Oh, I don't know that I would change. I just think it's really important for people who do give to think about including that as part of their estate plan. We know that 70, maybe even 80% of Americans give to charity every single year, their church, their alma mater, the organizations that their kids involved in, but they don't think about it as part of their estate plan. And if they just included some small gift in their estate plan, then their annual gift could continue into perpetuity. Right. That would have a tremendous impact on all the communities all across Indiana. If everybody thought about what they're doing today in a way they can include something in their estate plan to make sure what they're doing today continues. It'd make a huge difference.
Well, you've made a huge difference in educating people about these things and really building the community foundation. So I appreciate all the leadership you provided these many years, and I'm looking forward to see what this next chapter is going to bring about for you, Barb. So,
well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it too.
All right. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. When my kids were quite young, I wanted to teach them how to handle their money, whether it was earned or given. Each had 4 cups. One was marked spending, another savings, a third said college, and the final one read church. I explained that when you earned $1, it would be divided into these 4 portions. There was a percentage assigned to each. 40% was for the immediate needs and wants, 30% was set aside for a larger purchase down the road, 20% was for the further education, and 10% was for contributions. I'm sure you've been taking notes and writing all of this down. That's really not the point. There were a variety of lessons in the set of cups, such as all the money you earn is not to be spent immediately. Second, you must plan and work to save for important things. Another message, you are going to college and you will be paying for part of it. Finally, you contribute to the good of all by supporting the efforts of your faith. The overall lesson, money has a purpose. It is a tool for attaining what you want and need, and it's much more about what you need. I'm pleased to say that these ideas have sunk deeply into my adult children. For the vast majority of other kids who've grown up, these lessons were either not taught or did not penetrate their brains. We read of and hear about young people and old who spend beyond their means, buy everything they desire without a thought. There is no money set aside to buy a home, for rainy days, or college tuition. Donations are never made to any charitable groups, and the bank account is always near zero. Many, after spending their dollar, even spend more by using credit cards or borrowing. Why didn't someone tell them how to manage money? I think the answer is you can't teach your kids about money management if you don't know how yourself. Most schools do not have this in their curriculum. Instead, they rely upon outside groups to bring this message to the children. We need to support organizations that offer programs on financial literacy and philanthropy for our kids. Otherwise, we will continue to witness huge numbers of people incapable of handling their finances, ill-prepared for their future, and unable to be charitable where and when it is needed. As always, I want to hear from you. We welcome your thoughts and comments about the content of this program or what is happening in our communities. You can email us at focus@lakeshorepublicmedia.org or watch past Lakeshore Focus shows from our website, which is www.lakeshorepublicmedia.org. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.